A very good evening and welcome to tonight's edition of Primetime News, coming to you live and direct from our Newsfirst studios. I'm Jama Ratnaika for the Newsfirst team. Today is the 27th of November 2023. Here are your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
As Udayana discount, enjoy up to 70% off from Vikramahachi.
President removes Roshan Ranasinghe from all ministerial positions.
මම ඇමතිවරයා විදියට මේ දූෂණය නතර කරන්න උපරිම උත්සාහ කරනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඊළඟ ජනාධිපතිවරණයෙන් හරි ඉවර කරනවා මේ දූෂණය ක්‍රියාවලිය කියන එක තමයි කියන්නේ.
Roshan Ranasinghe says his life is at risk and if something were to happen, the president and Sagala are responsible. New Fortress LNG plant project abandoned. Sri Lanka opts to award the contract to China or India. Public sector protests demanding 20,000 rupee allowance.
Newsfirst headlines. Main sponsor.
As Udayana discount, enjoy up to 70% off from Vikramahachi.
On to your top story for tonight, and news that broke a short while ago. Harin Fernando and Pavitra Vanyarachi were sworn in as ministers earlier this evening. Harin Fernando was sworn in as the new Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs in the presence of President Ranil Wickremesinghe at the President's office earlier today. And in addition, Pavitra Vanyarachi was sworn in as the Minister of Irrigation before President Ranil Wickremesinghe. These positions were previously held by Roshan Ranasinghe. Sticking to the same topic, the President removed Roshan Ranasinghe from the portfolios of Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs and Minister of Irrigation. Later in the day, Ranasinghe vacated the ministry.
Sri Lankan President Ranil Wickremesinghe had handed over a letter to Roshan Ranasinghe, noting that the latter had been removed from the portfolios of Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs and Minister of Irrigation with immediate effect during the cabinet meeting that took place in Parliament. The letter notes that the removal was done in accordance with the powers vested with the President as per Article 47(3)(a) of the Constitution. The article says, quote, "A Minister of the Cabinet of Ministers, a Minister who is not a member of the Cabinet of Ministers, and a Deputy Minister shall continue to hold office throughout the period during which the Cabinet of Ministers continue to function under the provisions of the Constitution, unless he is removed from office under the hand of the President in consultation with the Prime Minister," unquote. After he was removed as a minister, Roshan Ranasinghe visited the Sports Ministry and vacated the premises. The President sacked me. I came here to thank the entire staff, including the Secretary and the Director General, for their support. The media should be also thanked for their support in trying to rectify the issues with sports. I am thankful to all. As the minister, I tried my best to end the corruption and would let it go for long and would end it with the next presidential election.
දූෂණය නතර කරන්න උපරිම උත්සාහ කරනවා. එහෙම නැත්නම් දීර්ඝකාලීනව මේ කතා කරන්න තියන්නේ ඊළඟ ජනාධිපතිවරණයෙන් ඉවර කරනවා කියන. ඊළඟ ජනාධිපතිවරණයෙන් හරි ඉවර කරනවා මේ දූෂණය ක්‍රියාවලිය කියන එක තමයි කියන්නේ. ඔබගේ සහායකාටද ආණ්ඩුවට සහාය බල කරනවද? ආණ්ඩුව සමග ඉන්නවද? ඒ පිළිබඳව
I will comment about it in time. I will support whatever is right. What is happening now is stabilization. No matter where I stand among the 225 MPs, I will support whatever is good.
ඇතුලේ මම කොතන හිටියත් හොඳ දෙයට උදව් කරනවා.
ඔබතුමා ආයෙත් ආණ්ඩුවකදී මේ අමාත්‍යාංශයට දෙන්න කැමැත්ත?
එහෙම කිසි දෙයක් සදාකල් නැහැනේ. කිසි දෙයක් සදාකල් නැහැනේ. ඒකින්ද මහජනයාට වැඩ කරන්න තනතුරු ප්‍රශ්නයක් නැහැ.
දැන් ඇමතිවරු සමහර වෙලාවට ගියාම කියනවා මේ ලියකවිලි අරගෙන ගිහිල්ලා අරව ගෙනිච්චා මේවා ගෙනිච්චා
කිසිම දෙයක් නැහැ. ඒ ඔක්කොම ටික මං කිව්වා බාර දෙන්න කියලා.
When I took over, there was no camera, photocopier and other items. Everything has been handed over and there will be no need to call me and inquire about it.
කන්නෝට කැමරාව නැහැ, ෆොටෝකොපි මැෂින් එක නැහැ, ගොඩක් බඩු නැහැ. එහෙම නැහැ. මේ සියල්ලම ලේකම්වරු ඉන්නවා පිළිවෙලට බාර දෙන්න. ආයේ කෝල් කරලා බඩු අහන්න තියන්නේ නැහැ. හොඳයි. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
හරි. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
Roshan Ranasinghe made a startling statement in Parliament noting that his life faces threats and made allegations over the matter against the President and the President's Chief of Staff Sagala Ratnayaka. At the onset, Roshan Ranasinghe commented on an incident where Sri Lanka police had allegedly raided a business premises that he operates.
මම අමතර කොටස් ව්‍යාපාරිකයෙක් අමතර කොටස් ව්‍යාපාරවල මම හාල් පෝල් විකුණන්නේ නැහැ කතානායකතුමා මම විකුණන්නේ
Am I a spare parts businessman? I do not sell commodities like rice and coconuts. I only sell spare parts. A theft was exposed. However, after it was exposed, some were silent. This alone reveals the depth of the deals that they have reached. Where were they at that time? Recently, the President framed me in a certain manner when he visited Parliament. I thank him for that. Namal Rajapaksa has met with Charit at Cinnamon Grand. Ranil is a snake. It is unsure when this snake will attack Roshan. If the snake does not act, it will be taken for firewood. However, who is this snake trying to attack? Is it trying to attack me, who exposed the fraud and corruption?
දූෂණය වංචාව අල්ලලා දුන්න මටද
රොෂාන් රණසිංහ මන්ත්‍රීතුමා
MP Roshan Ranasinghe, I did not make such a statement. Speaker, standing orders will have to be taken up for the fact that he is misleading the people and slinging mud using parliamentary privileges as a shield. I will not make allegations against Roshan Ranasinghe as I believe he would have been misled by someone. Please withdraw that statement. Roshan Ranasinghe is a friend and I will say it at any time.
යාළුවෙක් මට ඕන්ලාගේ එතුමාට කියන්න පුළුවන්
මට චරිත් කියලා තියෙන්නේ අසත්‍යයක් නම් ගරු
If what Charit has said is false, I am ready to withdraw the statement. However, Namal Rajapaksa a week ago warned me to be careful as there may be an attempt to seek revenge from me. They wanted to see how they can frame me. So they used the Walani unit for this purpose. So the Walani unit goes to Euro-Nippon and everyone is aware that it is a part of Roshan Ranasinghe's group. There is no issue in that. If there is a legal issue, they have the right to act on it. However, if you wanted to raid all my businesses, I would have saved you the trouble and given you all the keys. Here are the keys to all 8 businesses that I own. MP Nimal Piyatissa said that a certain vehicle was found and taxes were not paid. Here is the Daily Mirror report from the 25th. A Land Cruiser Jeep smuggled to the country was seized by the Panadura Valana Anti-Vice Squad during a raid on Euro-Nippon private vehicle yard in Dambulla belonging to Minister of Sports Roshan Ranasinghe and handed over to Dambulla police.
නීති විරෝධී ලෙස මෙරටට ගෙන ලෑන්ඩ් ක්‍රූසර් ජීප් රථයක් ක්‍රීඩා අමාත්‍ය රොෂාන් රණසිංහට අයත් දමුල්ල යුරෝනිපෝන් පෞද්ගලික වාහන අංගණයේ වැටලීමකදී පානදුර වලාන මර්දනාංශයේ නිලධාරීන් විසින් අත්අඩංගුවට ගෙන දමුල්ල පොලිසියට බාර දී තිබෙනවා. මගේ ආයතනයක් ඇතුලේ තිබිලා වාහනයක් අරගෙනත් නැහැ. යුරෝනිපෝන් ආයතනයේට ඒකේ අයිතියකුත් නැහැ. රොෂාන් රණසිංහගේ නමට ඒකට අයිතියකුත් නැහැ.
No such vehicle was taken from my business and Euro-Nippon or Roshan Ranasinghe owns it. How can they publish like this? Based on this, Vijitha Herat makes statements. On one hand, the President is trying to say that I committed contempt of court. They sent a team from here to Dambulla. On one side, they are trying to make the courts hate me. And on the other, they say that this belonged to me and publish it. Is this what they do when I expose the theft? When I was in the cabinet, we had the mandate of 6.9 million people. He can remove me if he wants. I am here with the votes of the people. Do not persecute me like this. I am wondering whether the cabinet, the government and the opposition are waiting for that to happen. The Prime Minister is also letting anything happen. This needs to bring a new era in politics. And in this era, I may lose my life. I may be killed in the streets today, tomorrow or any other day. The President and Sagala Ratnayaka will have to be responsible for that. Did 134 MPs vote for him to become President so that he can persecute us?
ඒකට වග කියන්න වෙයි. මේ යන විදියට. හැබැයි මේ 134ක් ඡන්දෙ දුන්නේ එතුමාට ජනාධිපති වෙලා මේ විදියට අපෙන් පරිගන්නද කියන ප්‍රශ්නේ තියෙනවා. සාගල රත්නායක කියන්නේ මොකෙද්ද? මේ විදියට ගහනවා කැබිනට් නියෝගයක්. මේක දන්නේ නැහැ ඇමතිවරු කැබිනට් එකේ හිටපු. මේකේ තියෙන්නේ මොකද්ද? මට ක්‍රීඩා පනතේ මේ උත්තරීතර පාර්ලිමේන්තුවෙන් 73 බලය දුන්නේ.
Who is Sagala Ratnayaka? A cabinet order was issued like this. And I am not sure if the former cabinet ministers are even aware of this. This mentions the Sports Act and the Parliament was given power in 1973 when there were no rogues. MP Namal Rajapaksa, I mentioned some names. I am aware of their family backgrounds and I am not insulting anyone. The cabinet is saying not to appoint an interim committee and cabinet approval is necessary to do so. How can this go on? I attended the cabinet meeting at 3 p.m. last week. I was the 4th and Minister Ali Sabri produced his paper on cricket and it mentioned that all the necessary measures will be taken. Thereafter, I assumed that the discussion on cricket was over. Several days later, I inquired if a decision had been taken from several other ministers. ministers. They said that no such decision was taken, so it will become an issue when they claim that I supported the measures to curtail my own powers while serving in the cabinet.
මේක ප්‍රශ්නයක්. අද ඇමතිවරයෙක් විදියට මේ 30 ඇතුළේ ඉන්න මගේ ආරක්ෂාව සහ මගේ ආයතනය වටලන්න දේශපාලනික මැදිහත් වීම විධායකයේ මැදිහත් වීම පිළිබඳව මම කනගාටු වෙනවා. ඒක නිසා
I am disappointed over the fact that the executive has intervened politically with regard to my own protection and to raid my businesses. I seek the right to live. In addition, I seek the right for my wife and children to live. Do not pave the way for this. Sagala has 4 to 5 vehicles with STF protection. And where do I get my protection? If this cricket issue is not solved now, it will have to be solved at the next presidential election. Drive away the gang of thieves who have been exposed by these audit reports.
දූෂිත රළ ගෙවද ගෙදර යවලා ඒ වගකීම පවරන්න. ඒක කරන්න මේ වෙලාවේ බැයි නම් ඊළඟ ජනාධිපතිවරණයෙන් හරි මේ ප්‍රශ්න ඉවර කරනවා ගරු කතානායක.
අපිට දැනගන්නට ලැබුණා ICC එකේ chairman Greg Barclay ඉදිරි
We are told that the ICC chairman Greg Barclay is slated to visit Sri Lanka soon. I propose that you invite him to speak to all 225 MPs and elaborate on the resolution that was passed. In addition to that, explain the malpractices that have taken place at Sri Lanka cricket.
පිළිබඳව කරුණු පැහැදිලි කරන්නටත් වර්තමාන ශ්‍රී ලංකා ක්‍රිකට් ආයතනයේ තිබෙන අන්ත දූෂිත ක්‍රියාකලාපය කොහොමද ඒ ආයතනය ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදයේ නාමයෙන් එක එක වෙට්ටු දමදම එක එක ලියුම් ලියලිය ලෝකෙට කේලම් කිය අපේ රට පාවා දෙන ආකාරය ගැන පැහැදිලි කිරීමක් කළ යුතුමයි.
හැබැයි ක්‍රීඩා පනතට අනුකූලව ගරු
As per the Sports Act, the minister has the power to appoint an interim committee. However, if such a committee is being appointed, it must comply with international norms and following discussions. I request that another day be allocated for cricket. If not, we will not be able to continue with the budget debate.
ගරු කතානායකතුමනි අපි දවසක් පාර්ලිමේන්තුවේ විවාද කෙරුවානේ. මෙම ජීප් රථය තරංගුට
The jeep in question was seized from the vehicle yard that belongs to Sports Minister Roshan Ranasinghe. A person named Indika serves as the manager at Euronippon. It has come to light that a person named Indika is the owner of the Dambulla branch of the Euronippon, which is located opposite this yard. The vehicle is being dealt under the provisions of the Offences Against Public Property Act number 12 of 1982 and Motor Traffic Amendment Act number 8 of 2009. I am not distorting any facts to inconvenience him.
තුමා පාසුතාවයට පත් කිරීම සඳහා ඉදිරිපත් කරපු කරුණ නෙවෙයි.
මං හිතන්නේ මාසයක් තිස්සේ මේ රටේ
I believe that for almost a month a program was in play to use cricket and inconvenience the government. There is a program afoot to dismantle this government. Irrespective of the subject, if a person is given a ministerial portfolio, that person needs to have the backbone to work despite who becomes the chairman and the board. If you have concerns about the head of the cabinet, who is also the president, then step down.
ඉතින් අද කැබිනට් එකේ තමන්ගේ ප්‍රධානියා ජනාධිපතිතුමා ගැන සැකයක් තියෙනවා නම් එක ගෙදර ගෑනිටයි මිනිහටයි විශ්වාසයක් නැත්තම් ඩිවෝස් වෙන්න ඕන. හැබැයි අද එහෙම විශ්වාසයක් නැතුව වැඩ කරන්න බෑ.
I would even stay a day if that were the case. There is no point in coming here and saying that there is no faith in the president, the government, or those with the president. Those who cannot perform must leave. No matter who leaves, the government will not stop functioning. We will not allow anyone to undertake contracts and inconvenience the president and the government.
එයාගේ කොන්තරත් අරගෙන මේ ආණ්ඩුව අපහසුතාවයට පත් කරන්න ආවට ජනාධිපතිතුමා අපහසුතාවයට පත් කරන්න ආවට ජනාධිපතිතුමා අපහසුතාවයට පත් වෙන්නේ නැහැ, පත් කරන්න දෙන්නෙත් නැහැ.
Further consideration of the petition filed with the Court of Appeal by Sri Lanka cricket chairman Shammi Silva against the interim committee appointed by the former sports minister will be taken up again on Tuesday. The matter was taken up today in the presence of Justices Sobhita Rajakaruna and D.N. Samarakun. President's Counsel Salia Piris, appearing for the chairman of the interim committee of Sri Lanka cricket and its members who were named as respondents, made submissions in the court. Thereafter, the sessions were adjourned.
The matter was postponed to tomorrow for the other parties to make their submissions. We believe that if the status of cricket must change, the decision must come from a place like this. Everyone is aware of what happens with Sri Lanka cricket election. Instead of commenting on those, we have a good feeling over the court.
The Chief of Selectors of Sri Lanka Cricket, Pramod Wickramasinghe, visited the Special Investigation Unit for Prevention of Offences relating to sports. This is to make further submissions over the revelation he made recently. On the 13th of November 2023, Chief of Selectors Pramod Wickramasinghe, in a statement, made several revelations with regard to the present state of cricket in the country.
I issued a statement and the sports minister had filed a complaint. I believe that after the evidence was taken, he had removed his complaint as well. In the end, Sri Lanka got suspended.
ඉතින් ඇත්තටම මට කියන්න තියෙන්නේ ගහව බෙරේකුත් නැහැ බෙරේ පළුවකුත් නැහැ අන්තිමට අපේ ක්‍රිකට් තහනම් වුණා. දැන් ඔබතුමා නැවත කැඳවීමක් තියෙනවද? මට අවසන් දැන්. බොහොම ස්තුතියි.
Today is day 21 of the Gum at the Door-to-Door campaign. Gum at the teams traversing the length and breadth of Sri Lanka toured villages in the Monragala, Puttlam and Mullaitivu districts today. Here are some of the stories they came across.
මෙයා කුලිවැඩට යන්නේ ගල් උස්සගන්න ඇවුවොත් ඒකටත් යනවා. වැලි උස්සන්න ඕනේ කිව්වොත් ඒකටත් යනවා. ලැබෙන රස්සාව කරලා තමයි ජීවත් වෙන්නේ මෙහි ඉන්න කට්ටිය. අපිට මේ ගෙවල් ටික යට වෙන්නේ නැතුව මේ තේන. ගෙවල් ටික චුට්ටක් අපි ජීවත් වෙන්න. ඉන්න කාලේට හරි ළමයි ගැන හිතලා මේක හදලා දුන්නොත් මෙහි කවුරුත් එන්නෙත් නැහැ. රජේ කවුරුත් එන්නෙත් නැහැ. මන්ත්‍රීතුමාලා කවුරුත් එන්නෙත් නැහැ. අපි හරක් වගේ තමයි අපි ඉන්නේ මේ කාලේ. වෙස්ස කාලේදී අපි ඉන්නේ හරක්.
Those were lamentations of a woman residing in the Kuwait village in Puttlam. More than 450 people from 47 families are forced to live in shacks. But to them, those shacks are more valuable than a mansion. On rainy days, the entire village turns muddy. They shared their sorrows with the Gum at the team that visited the Kuwait village today. In a land such as Sri Lanka, blessed with many bodies of water, man-made and natural, nearly 230 families in the Thammannavatia village in Velewava have an acute drinking water crisis. What is the ultimate result of this crisis? Rampant kidney disease. The Karavilya Gestupana village is located in Sella Kataragama and is home to 600 families. Chena cultivations is their lifeblood, but the constant encroachment of wild elephants and other invading animals, including monkeys, have posed a severe threat to their yield. 26 families in the Tottiriyadi village in Vishwamadu Pudukudiripu in the Mullaitivu district are suffering due to the lack of water. Wells in the area dry out quickly, leaving them with little to no sources of water. Wild elephant encroachments pose another serious risk to their lives. These were only a handful of stories our Gum at the teams came across in their mission to identify the burning issues of those residing in rural Sri Lanka. Gum at the teams will continue their spirited effort to go to the people and lend an ear to their woes tomorrow as well.
Gum at the made in Sri Lanka.
Newsfirst with the people.
As Udayana discount. Enjoy up to 70% off from Vikramahachi.
In more headline-making news, Indika Anuruddha, State Minister of Power and Energy, confirmed that US energy company New Fortress Energy Incorporated had withdrawn from the project to build an LNG terminal for Sri Lanka. He said that proposals for this project were received from India and China. On the 17th of September 2021, the Sri Lankan government inked an agreement with US energy company New Fortress Energy Incorporated in haste, and this agreement was also dubbed as the Midnight Deal. According to this agreement, a 40% stake of the Yugadanavi power plant in Kerawalapitiya will be awarded to New Fortress Energy Incorporated. In addition, the agreement was also for the construction of a new power plant, Sobhadhanavi, as well as for the LNG supply for the plant. As part of the transaction, New Fortress was to be given control of almost 700 megawatts of electricity at the onset of the project. Last week, Minister of Power and Energy Kanchana Wijesekara said that the agreement fell apart due to the conduct of factions from the opposition and government.
The government of Gotabaya Rajapaksa launched a program to convert the Yugadanavi and Sobadanavi power plants and to bring in the LNG conversion. However, then came the opposition against it. It was the opposition and the section of the government that worked to stop the LNG agreement that was signed with the New Fortress Energy. A group with the government then went to the opposition, filed a case and drove away the investors. Because of the delay, even if we construct the power plants, we will have to wait for a year to get the gas supply.
Though the minister made such claims, the petitions that were filed with the court challenging the agreement were quashed by the court without even being taken up for consideration. Following the court ruling, New Fortress Energy issued a statement and noted that the proposed project will be launched soon. At the same time, the Cabinet approved Electricity Sector Reforms Bill aims to establish independent corporate entities responsible for activities related to electricity generation, transmission, distribution, trade, supply and procurement already performed by the Ceylon Electricity Board. Entities will be set up in a manner in which they can be registered under the Companies Act. This move is to be done with the aim of attracting new investments and creating market competition.
අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා මේ දෙසැම්බර් මාස වෙනකොට ව්‍යාපෘති 6කට අදාළව තීන්දුව తీරන ගන්න. එකක් තමයි අදානි ව්‍යාපෘතිය මන්නාර.
We plan to reach decisions with regard to 6 projects by December, and one is the Adani wind power plant in Manna and Punareen for 500 megawatts. When investors are reluctant to enter, we must not drive them away. We hope to have the construction completed in 2 years. We cannot depend on the land alone. Our land resources are limited and we need to use our water systems as well. The relevant legislation is being drafted.
Energy sovereignty is a vital aspect for a country. Will a situation arise where the people will suffer with absolutely no development projects as agreements are being signed with various firms whenever a new government is elected? These are decisions that relate to the future of a country. Shouldn't these be done after more extensive discussions with the public? State sector employees engaged in protests island-wide during lunch hour today, demanding they be given either a pay raise or bonus worth a minimum of 20,000 rupees. A protest organised by the State and Provincial State Sector Trade Union Collective was held opposite the Setsiripaya in Battaramulla today.
Government reports alone have confirmed that a family of 4 requires a minimum of 74,000 rupees monthly to survive. Salaries of state sector employees 30,000 rupees, 35,000 or 40,000. That is what they earn. They cannot survive on that wage. We wish to question President Wickramasinghe if past presidents were able to increase salaries and pensions, why can't they increase the pittance earned by state sector employees?
Another group held a demonstration opposite the Ministry of Health.
All of us have been deceived. Instead of providing 20,000 rupees, they have decided to provide a 10,000 rupee bonus. That too from the month of April. The salary increase due in January are only going to be paid in October. This is a trap.
The Inter-University Services Trade Union held another protest this afternoon, demanding a salary hike of 20,000 rupees.
If you plan on increasing the taxes and other costs in January, make sure that the salaries and bonuses are also increased parallelly.
Yet another protest was held opposite the Ministry of Education. Protesters voiced their demands to grant a salary increase to match the rising cost of living. More protests voicing similar concerns were held across the island today. The All Ceylon Academic and Non-Academic Employees Joint Union and the United Education Sector Non-Academic Employees Union engaged in a fast opposite the Ministry of Education. They were demanding that the issues that have not been solved for years be given solutions.
The All Ceylon Academic and Non-Academic Employees Joint Union and the United Education Sector Non-Academic Employees Union engaged in a fast following a meeting with an Education Ministry Secretary. They also set the letter given by the Education Ministry on fire.
We do not accept this and we will set it on fire. We need an answer within 24 hours. If not, the situation will become worse.
We
engaged in a fast here on the 20th and then the Education Minister arrived and said that it will be discussed in Parliament. The Minister intervened to issue circulars. However, nothing has transpired.
School development officers in Anuradhapura protested demanding that they be integrated to the teacher service in the country. Newsfirst correspondents said the protesters marched from the Anuradhapura Sama Viharaya to the North Central Provincial Council.
මේ වෙනකොට අවුරුදු 3ක් තිස්සේ මේ පාසල් තුල ගුරුවරයෙකුගේ සියලු භූමිකාවන් සිද්ධ කරන
We've been visiting the Education Ministry for 3 years seeking to perform the role of teachers. However, we are not accepted. These officials have no backbone to accept us teachers.
රැකියාගත කරන්න යනකොට මේ කට්ටියට කොන්දක් නැහැ අපිව ගුරුවරුන් විදිහට පිළිගන්න.
The All Ceylon School Development Officers Collective also protested opposite the Western Provincial Council. They demanded that the development officers who have been serving in schools for 3 years be integrated to the teacher service.
We are demanding the government to integrate those who wish to serve in the school system and award them with teacher appointments so that they can serve with dignity.
Another protest took place opposite the Badulla main bus stand. A protest also took place at the Torrington complex in Kandy and protesters were given a discussion with the governor. Newsfirst correspondents said that the group was allowed to visit the governor's office and hand over a letter.
Minister Susil Premajayantha commented on the protests organised by the academic and non-academic staff in the education sector. Last week, several people launched a fast displaying a banner noting that it was due to a non-academic staff issue. I summoned them, discussed the matter and solved it. The other issues need to be solved by the provincial officers and governors' officers. I convened a 45-minute Zoom meeting with all 9 governors and their officials. We discussed only 3 matters. The first is to operate as per the directives that we have sent with regard to the non-academic staff. There is a list of the suggestions that were made. That too was sent with my signature to the provincial governors. All the chief secretaries and provincial secretaries got a letter bearing the signature of the education secretary. The issues now have to be addressed at a provincial level. There is no need to travel to Colombo from Badulla and Norelia to fast and solve this issue. They can visit those officials and solve the issue.
Revisiting a story that we brought to you earlier on in the bulletin, Minister Harin Fernando, who swore in as the new Minister of Sports and Youth Affairs, addressed the media following his appointment.
අද දවසේදී මම හිතනවා කැබිනට් එකත් ඒ වගේම ජනාධිපතිවරයෙකුත් ප්‍රථම වතාවකට කැබිනට් එකට අමාත්‍යවරයෙක් කැඳවලා ඒ අමාත්‍යවරයාට කරුණු පහදලා දීලා.
For the first time in history, the President and the Cabinet removed a minister from his position after summoning him to the Cabinet and explaining him the situation and thanked him for his service. The President vested me the responsibility because a solution will not be provided to the prevailing situation and the allegations levelled against the President. At this moment, this responsibility is an important one. Sports is something everyone adores. There are certain regulations that you must abide by when making these decisions. I do not hope to go against anyone. I want to work with Arjuna Ranatunga and others in order to uplift cricket. We must try to bring the earlier version of the sport to Sri Lanka. Within days, we must reverse the decision made by the ICC to ban Sri Lanka and bring back the Under-19 Cricket World Cup to Sri Lanka and to motivate the Under-19 players. The crisis and the uncertainties must be removed and cricket that we all love must be ensured. I believe when I accepted cricket the last time, a A similar crisis was seen among players. We brought in an act against corruption and fraud. We were able to do it legally. I tried to appoint an interim committee, but the ICC did not like it because Sri Lanka cricket is funded by the ICC. The government does not spend on it. That is where the issue lies. But there are corruption in sports administration. A committee must be appointed to look into that. The Sports Act must change. The composition must change. If it is done legally, the ICC or the Rugby Federation accepts that, but they do not accept government interference.
A program on building scientific capacity for monitoring wildlife from the ground level was held in Colombo yesterday. The program, organized by Justice for Nature on building scientific capacity for monitoring wildlife from the bottom up, saw the participation of many wildlife enthusiasts and experts. The event was titled Green Conversations. Professor in Zoology Devaka Virakon, conservation biologist Dr. Alexander Brakowski and wildlife photographer Chitral Jayatilaka participated in the event. Day 55 of the LOLC Divisavya program took place today, centering the Mathura district.
The second leg of the LOLC Divisavya program will provide school books and stationery items to schools with less than 100 students. Students will be provided school books and stationery for a period of 1 year under the program. This worthy initiative is a collaboration between the LOLC group and the Ministry of Education. The LOLC Divisavya program took place at the Mathura and Akuras education zones in the Mathura district. School books and stationery items were given to the students at the Sultana Goda Mahavidyalaya, Galpamuna Primary Vidyalaya, Dampalla Mahavidyalaya and Dibbavala Primary Vidyalaya. School books and stationery items were given to the students at the Imbulgoda, Kohugoda and Talahagama primary schools. At the same time, the LOLC Divisavya program took place at the Mathura Zonal Education Office. The LOLC Divisavya program will continue to create a bright future for the country's student population.
Sri Lanka's foreign ministry said that 4 members of a Sri Lankan family who were stranded in the Gaza Strip safely arrived in Sri Lanka last week. The Consular Affairs Division of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs facilitated the repatriation of the family. Upon their arrival in Colombo, officials from the Foreign Ministry received the returning Sri Lankans. The officials from the Sri Lankan Embassy in Cairo, working in coordination with Egyptian authorities, visited the Rafah border between Egypt and Gaza and received the stranded Sri Lankans. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs facilitated the arrangements of logistics and air transportation for the returnees with the assistance of the International Organization for Migration. A total of 15 Sri Lankans have been rescued from the Gaza Strip through Rafah border, and they were safely repatriated to Sri Lanka in coordination with Sri Lanka missions in Cairo and Ramallah since the beginning of the recent crisis on the 7th of October 2023. The White House aims to lift nearly all restrictions on Israel's access to weapons from a crucial US stockpile, enabling a smoother weapons pipeline to Israel, which has paused weeks of its devastating bombings of the Gaza Strip.
The White House asked the United States Senate to scrap the restrictions in its latest supplementary budget request on October 20th. If granted, the request would enable Israel to access more high-powered US weapons at a reduced cost. The request proposes changes to policies governing the war-reserved stockpile allies Israel and Israel-based US weapon stockpile that has smart bombs, missiles, military vehicles and other ammunition and equipment. The stockpile, set up in the 1980s, gives the Pentagon a strong weapons cachet to tap into the event of regional conflicts. Israel, the US's principal ally in the Middle East, has also been able to pull some weapons from the reserve in emergency cases and buy them at a reduced cost. However, it has been able to access only certain classes of weapons deemed obsolete or surplus. The White House request would eliminate such conditions, enabling the US to transfer all defense articles from its stockpile to Israel.
And that's a wrap of Primetime News for tonight. Take care and good night.